Welcome to Woodstock City Council, November 6, 2025. We did not have any closed session this afternoon, so I'd ask if there's any disclosure of pecuniary interest. Seeing none, this hybrid meeting is being held in person here in council chambers and electronically in accordance with section 238, subsection 3.3 of the Municipal Act and section 16.6.24 of the City of Woodstock Procedure Bylaw. This meeting is being live streamed to the city's YouTube channel, and a recording will be posted on the city's website following the meeting. An agenda of the meeting can be found on the agendas, meetings, and minutes page of the city's website. Councilors attending virtually will be raising their hands in view of their webcam when moving a motion, requesting to speak, and when a vote is being taken. If a member of council is disconnected or having technical difficulties, we will take a recess in order to attempt to rectify the issue. If technical difficulties exist that prevent the meeting from continuing, the meeting will be adjourned and reconvene at a later time. If a councilor attending virtually needs to leave the meeting at any time, they are to inform the clerk. And today we will have Councilor Schattenberg reading the resolutions. Are there any disclosures of new business? Matters arising from the minutes? And that brings us to the minutes. Councilor Schattenberg.
Moved by myself, Councilor Schattenberg, seconded by Councilor Tate, that the minutes of the regular meeting of Woodstock City Council held on October 16th, 2025 be adopted.
Any questions or concerns with those? Seeing none, all those in favor? That is carried. There's no additions to the agenda, no presentations, but of course we do have some delegations, and I gotta say I love seeing a full house here today. So thanks everybody for being here. This brings us to 8A. Joanna Zubik, Jessica Seguis, Jill Strick, Carrie Deitch, Caitlin Vanderspeck, Grow Girls event request. Welcome, please come forward.
Good afternoon. On behalf of Grow Girls, I'm Joanna, this is Jill and Caitlin, and we're here to And we are here to talk about Grow Girls. Grow is an opportunity for girls and female identified students to work on their growth, resilience, opportunity, and worth. We are hoping for the use of the Reeves Community Complex for our event that hosts about 500 plus female identified students in grade 9, and the opportunity to use some of your buses for public transportation to keep the cost for the event free for those that attend.
So Grow Girls provides a safe and supportive environment where they can help find their identity. Okay. It can teach them how to handle setbacks and stress in a very healthy way. And it can build emotional strength by talking about others' experiences that can be shared to others. This is a chance for the female identified students from different backgrounds in the community to communicate and talk about the different experiences.
And you're probably wondering how this, up a little bit. You're probably wondering how this is going to help the community and local businesses around. A way that the local businesses can get involved in this is by partnering with the event and donating materials and materials that we use for workshops with our grade 9 girls and female identified girls. And it also creates opportunities for the community to collaborate with other schools, because I think it's seven schools in Oxford County attend this with over 500 female identified grade 9 girls. And it also allows them to connect with the community and gain a positive exposure for their businesses. And it can also teach a lot of these female identified students teamwork skills that can help them in school and future jobs that they can express onto other people. And I kind of like to talk about my own experience at this. When I was in grade 9, it was kind of my first year in high school. It's difficult for everyone. And there were a lot of female role models there that helped ask and answer questions that I was confused about or didn't know. And they were very positive and very helpful and it was a very safe environment that you felt like you could ask questions if you needed to, and that felt very positive and empowering.
Go Girls for an experience with me. It helped me find like my own path and to separate myself and find my own identity from others that was going on. So that's why I liked it.
I want to keep going.
This is what I want to keep doing, like keep the tradition going every year. And we think it's a positive experience for the grade 9 female identified students. And it's a way for them to kind of find their identity because it is their first year in high school and it is difficult for everyone, as we know. And they're kind of still navigating their lives and how to deal with things that they didn't know before. And that's why we think we wanted to get the community complex and some city buses.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank
I
you.
will ask, I'll open it before I let you sit down yet. I'm gonna open it up to council to see if they have any questions for you, if that's all right. Counselor Tate.
Through the chair, I think this is fantastic because I know how stressful it is for kids, and anytime that there's somewhere you can go talk, whether it's, if there's no family or other friends, I think it's fantastic. Who started this? Like, whose idea was this to get this going originally? Was it the teachers at the school or was there a group?
Well, it's kind of been a tradition since I've been in high school, and I think we just want to keep on going with it because, like you said, it's a safe environment, and sometimes there isn't an opportunity for some girls don't feel comfortable talking to older or their mothers or teachers, so it's kind of a way for them to talk to someone closer in age and someone who has closer experiences to what they're dealing with.
And I'll just follow up. It was actually a student of ours at College Ave who was struggling in grade 9 to find her way and ended up struggling with some mental health issues and wanted something when she was in grade 12 that helped students that might be experiencing what she had experienced.
I think that's fantastic.
Counselor Leatherborough. Sorry
Through you,
about that.
Mr. Mayor, I'm so happy to see you all here delegating. I've been fortunate to attend and speak the last 2 years at Grow Girls. Should have wore my Grow Girls t-shirt now that I'm thinking of it. But certainly just a really important event in our community. And myself, I grew up playing a lot of sports, so I've often reflected in the experience of Grow Girls of what a great opportunity if you're not a sports person or if you're not into theater, et cetera, et cetera. It's just a lot of community building and the resources that are available all day long and the loud activities. I think it's just a lot of fun. So really supportive of this initiative and happy to see it continuing.
Yes. The clerk has asked me for your names. We need a record for your names if you don't
I'm
mind.
Jill Strick.
Caitlin Vandersbeck.
Joanna Zubik.
Perfect. I should have started off with that. My apologies. Anyone else? Well, I'd just like to say thank you again, ladies, for coming forward. I know this is not the most comfortable thing in the world. I gotta say, especially with paint on your face, but if you don't mind sharing with everybody how you did today.
Well, we had stair climb, and it's a
Yeah.
United Way Oxford fundraiser that can help provide like food for families that can't afford it, and it's something that can help students in need and fundraise money for it. So a lot of the schools were involved, and we were as well, as you can see.
Yeah. No, it's perfect timing today to have it as well, because we're gonna be having discussions a little later on as well. So again, thank you, ladies. Thank you very much for coming, and I will ask for a motion on the floor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Leatherborough.
Moved by myself that Woodstock City Council approves the in-kind donation request for the Grow Girls event, subject to there being no conflicts identified by city staff with the specific event dates.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Counselor Tate? Any further discussion or questions? I guess the only question I do have to verify, there's still no date, I assume, set? I should have asked. Okay. All right. And with that, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Thank you again, ladies, for coming forward. We look forward to get all the details to confirm soon. Okay, thank you. Next up, we have 8B, Allison Henkel, Food Rescue Hub. And this delegation did request extra time that I've allowed. Welcome.
Good afternoon, mayors and members of the City Council. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Allison Henkel, and I am here on behalf of the Food Rescue Hub, an initiative that we've been working on to address two critical issues in our community: food insecurity and food waste. This afternoon, I'm asking for your support for a one-time $50,000 seed funding contribution from the Mayor's Task Force for Social Wellbeing. This funding will allow us to launch the Food Rescue Hub, a centralized food distribution warehouse in Woodstock, which will rescue surplus food and redistribute it to local charities and organizations that are feeding those in need. This funding has already been set aside by the task force for initiatives like ours, so it will not create any additional burden on the city's tax levy. Let me start by outlining the problem we are trying to solve. In Oxford County, 1 in 4 households struggle with food insecurity. This means that every day, families, seniors, children, and the working poor are forced to make the impossible choices between paying rent, covering utility bills, or putting food on the table. Children are going to school hungry, and seniors on fixed incomes are skipping meals just to make ends meet. Adding to this, Woodstock is facing a growing homelessness crisis, with many individuals and families living in encampments or unstable housing situations. For those without a roof over their head, access to food becomes an even greater challenge. At the same time, tons of perfectly good food are wasted every day. Farmers, processors, retailers, and distributors have surplus food that could feed those in need, but there's no centralized system in Woodstock to rescue and redistribute this food efficiently. Local agencies are doing incredible work to help, but they are stretched thin. Many lack the storage, transportation, and resources to collect and manage surplus food. Instead of focusing on feeding people, they are spending valuable time chasing food donations to meet immediate needs. The Food Rescue Hub is the solution. We will establish a centralized food distribution warehouse in Woodstock, which is the largest city in Oxford County. And our mission is simple: to rescue food and redistribute it to the local charities and frontline groups that feed people in need. The hub will serve as the crucial link between food donors, such as farmers, processors, retailers, and the agencies that serve our most vulnerable residents. By creating the centralized system, we will reduce food waste by keeping surplus food out of landfills, increase efficiency for local agencies, allowing them to focus on their clients rather than on sourcing food, and strengthen our community by mobilizing volunteer resources to address hunger, poverty, and homelessness with dignity. We've already tested this model on a small scale, operating out of the Southgate Center for the past year. This experience has proved the need for a larger, dedicated space to meet the growing demand. We've done the groundwork, and we're ready to scale up. We've identified and are investigating a 6,000 square foot warehouse on Winnett Street that could serve as the location for the Food Rescue Hub. This space is centrally located, affordable, and large enough to meet our needs for years to come. To get started, we need $98,000 for initial setup costs. These funds will cover renovations to the warehouse, including installing sinks, lighting, and flooring, equipment such as fridges, freezers, shelving, and food-safe pallets, and a second-hand commercial van for transportation. We've already raised $50,000 in donations and pledges, and we have strong support from the community and from the Woodstock Rotary Club Foundation. They have not only pledged funds, but have also agreed to accept donations on our behalf and issue charitable receipts until we receive our own charitable status. We are here this afternoon to ask for your support in the form of the $50,000 one-time seed funding contribution. With your help, we can meet the startup budget and have the hub operational before the end of the year. This initiative has overwhelming support from our community. We've met with 13 local agencies, including Operation Sharing, Stitch Supper Club, and Indwell, who have all expressed strong interest in the Food Rescue Hub. Many of them have offered volunteers, drivers, and warehouse help, and they are eager to collaborate with us. We already have volunteers signed up to assist with operations. Organizations like WDDS, Indwell, and Woodstock Employment Resource Center are particularly excited about the opportunities the hub will provide for their clients to develop skills and gain valuable experience. Even local food donors are ready to contribute. One retailer told us that he believes that the hub will receive more food than we can use. And we have seen evidence to show that this could be true, and that is an excellent problem to have. We have received many letters of support from individuals, businesses, and organizations in the city, all acknowledging the need for and their support of the Food Rescue Hub. This broad community backing demonstrates that the Food Rescue Hub is a community-driven solution with widespread support. So why support the Food Rescue Hub? Because this is more than just a food program, it's a community solution. By supporting the Food Rescue Hub, you will address food insecurity in Woodstock by ensuring surplus food reaches those who need it most, reduce food waste, helping Oxford County meet its waste reduction goals, support local organizations by providing them with a reliable source of food, allowing them to focus on their core missions, strengthen our community by creating volunteer opportunities and mobilizing resources to address hunger, poverty, and homelessness. The Food Rescue Hub is a proven model that will make a real difference in our community. We've raised half of the funds needed for startup costs. With your contribution of $50,000 from the Mayor's Task Force, we can secure the warehouse, purchase the equipment, and begin operations before winter really sets in when the need is the greatest. The food is here, the organizations are here, the volunteers are here. The only thing missing is the remainder of our startup funding, and that is a problem that you can solve. But before I finish, I'd like to share why this project is so personal to me. I went into foster care at 13, and I have lived independently since I was 16. At 24, I went to college as a single mother, and my children and I survived on government assistance. It wasn't easy, but with careful planning, we were able to eat, live indoors, and pay our bills. Fast forward to today, and my 34-year-old son is on government assistance due to a disability. I know firsthand that if I couldn't help him out, he wouldn't be able to eat and live indoors. And I think that that's unacceptable, especially in a country like ours where we have so much of everything. So that is why I am so passionate about the Food Rescue Hub. I know what it's like to struggle, and I know how critical it is to have access to food and basic necessities. This project is about more than just rescuing food, it's about rescuing people. It's about ensuring that no one in our community has to go hungry. This is an opportunity for Woodstock to lead the way in tackling food insecurity and food waste in Oxford County. Together, we can create a community where no one goes hungry. Thank you for your time and consideration, and we are happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Counselor Tate.
Through the chair, thank you very much for your presentation and the personal information. I've talked to a number of people kind of in the same boat, grew up in public housing, but the one difference was their mother learned how to cook and they were able to eat. There was a lot of families that did without. So I was approached a couple years ago, somebody with your group, and they talked about doing this. So I have to say, I'm amazed at how organized this has been and how fast you've been able to get it going, because I said to them at the time, there's all these different groups. You need to reach out to all of them. So I'm really happy to see that everybody has come together.
Yeah.
So from my understanding, there's the same kind of operation going on. Is it St. Thomas?
The St. Thomas has a similar one? Harvest Hands.
Harvest Hand,
Yeah.
yes. That's the one that I was looking into. And the amount of food they receive is incredible.
Mhm.
So hats off to you and your group for getting this, because I think the same thing will be here. And I think going forward with the economy, you're going to see all kinds of people that are going to need help from every walk of our entire county that you probably didn't think that would happen. So I think this is really important.
Thank you.
Counselor Martin.
Thank you very much, Mayor Accioni. Thanks for your presentation, and I do appreciate the personal story because I think we all know someone or have contact with someone that or are someone who have had a similar experience to you. You're coming to us for startup funding, and you have already raised a significant amount of startup funding.
Mhm.
Once you become operational, which I know you will, um, is there a fee for service model or a revenue model that you're looking at that will help sustain some of those operational costs as you get going? And my second part of my question is, will there, Councillor Tate has just mentioned their moms knew how to cook. Will there be a food literacy component to this where people can learn some, and maybe that's a phase two, maybe that's a phase three, maybe that's down the road, but have you investigated that, thought about that?
So I'm going to answer part two while Chris comes up to answer part one,
Okay,
because she can
perfect.
do
Thank
that
you.
part better than I can. So for part two, when we first started this, this becomes the thing. We had to really had to rein ourselves in, because like I would be super excited to use a certain kitchen that I may have seen at Southgate Center, and have, people come in. Seniors is a big thing, right? Before my mom passed away, she was eating like an egg on toast because she wouldn't cook for more than, it wasn't financial. It was just she wouldn't cook for more than her. So when you add to that a financial constraints, so I thought it would be very cool if you got like, 10 seniors in who would all cook, and then everybody goes home with a meal. So they got 10 different things. And then looking at also providing some, this is how you cook a basic crock pot meal. Like you can chuck that on the crock, go to work and come home and you'll have nutritious food. It doesn't have to be pizza. So yes, the plan is not there, the dreams, there's lots of the dreams there though.
Thank you, Allison. I think the big piece here is the possibilities are endless and where we will go. And while we've had many, many discussions, we've had to actually reel ourselves in because it is just such an exciting opportunity. So as far as the literacy and all of that, we can with confidence say yes, yes, and yes, yes. We can't tell you when, but that is definitely the intention. This isn't just going to be a one-trick pony. This will actually consume the community over time, and it will take spin-offs where groups, we've already had a lot of different groups ask, oh, can we do this? Can we do this? We can do anything, but we've got to put one foot in front of the other, and this is the start. To answer your question, as far as I think that was maybe part of a sustainability piece and the model of what's being used. So there will be a provider, I'm sorry, not a provider, but a partner fee that is yet to be established during this beta stage, the beginning stages. But that is the model that we are looking at for certain. We do need to have everyone have a bit of skin in the game of where they can support, then they do. And we would look at a matrix possibly with that. I don't know if Karen wanted to add anything more to that.
We're very, very conscious of the fact that there are many people out there who are good organizations and need money, and we don't want to come in and start competing for money. So what we have done is come up with a financial stability matrix. We have already got several donors, so rather than going after one big donor or one big revenue stream, we really want to spread it around. And we already have several donors at $10,000 to $20,000, which is a very big sweet spot, committed for 2, 3, 4 years to help us. And that's going to be a good base. And we're also going to look for smaller donations as well. And we're asking for multi-year commitments. And there is a whole matrix developed. And as long as I'm here, we will be trying to follow that because we do not want to be impinging on anyone else. And we're going to do our level best to be supplemental and complementary to the existing. Does that help?
Perfect. And I would give you my full encouragement on this. I'll be one of those people you'll have to rein in every once in a while
Okay, that's
because
fine.
so many ideas, and I know that there are things that we can get to phase
Oh,
one,
yeah.
phase two, phase three.
We're gonna talk.
Yeah, big champion of this, something that I looked at a number of years ago and didn't have the community resources and connections that you all have. But thank you for the answers to the questions. I appreciate it.
Actually, if I may, especially for those watching at home, you did mention, you made very clear about $100,000 as the initial startup.
Yes.
To be clear, the first year of operation is estimated $186,000. So
Correct.
with your request today kind of launches, and then the community will be supporting in a big way, and why there's going to be further asks in the future of other organizations and ways for funding. But I got to say, the business plan is well done. It's really looked at everything, and excited to see it. Anyone else with any questions? Councillor Leatherborough?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and more so just a comment to the core team. I feel like all of you come at this from different lenses. The only person that continuously is absent is Brian Smith, who wears many hats. But I do applaud all of you, because I think when this first came to the mayor's task force, there was a couple questions that weren't in that moment answered. And again, to the viewers at home or people that are reviewing the agenda after the fact, there's just a number of resources and information provided on this initiative. So I do want to thank the team for going the extra mile to get those things. It doesn't happen overnight. I do love your ambition, and I just want to applaud the core team again for bringing it to today. And
Yeah,
Yeah,
we've
thank
gotten
you.
very fortunate that the group that comes together, so I'm an accountant, so I don't know the ins and outs of how we're going to feed people. But we've got people who know that. So yeah, we've got, and you know, Karen, who's got the marketing and the drive of a pit bull of them. She is right on top of us, making sure we stay on track. So we've got all of the skills we need.
I don't think a day goes by that I don't talk to Karen. So
Well, between the chamber stuff and this stuff,
Yeah.
I'm yeah, constantly with her too. Yeah.
I can vouch for that. And that's a compliment. Mike.
Yes, it's great. Yes.
Anyone else? I mean, I'd just like to finally say thank you to you, the entire group. I know I've been there from the beginning to from where it started to where we are today. I'm so proud of you as an organization to getting everything up again together, a clear business plan, a clear model that is going to be successful moving forward. So I wish you the best of luck here on in, and
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Now, no resolutions required as this delegation refers to special committee and advisory task force reports, item 15B. But there has been a request if council is willing to move them forward. I would suggest that we do 15A first and then 15B. So under special committee and advisory task force reports, is there any objection from council moving that forward? Seeing none. Again, I'm just looking online to make sure. Okay, then we are going to jump forward to 15A, which is 2025 Community Grant Program. Thank you, ladies, for coming. Looking for a motion. Councillor Tate.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council, in accordance with Community Grants Policy GA003, allocate the following grants for the 2025 fall intake: Cycles of Life for Transitional Living, 10,000; Junior Achievement Southwestern Ontario, 5,000; K2K Productions, 5,000; Oxford Attack Basketball Club, 7,000; Oxford Winds Community Concert Band, 2,000; Tilsonburg and District Multi-Service Center, 5,000; Woodstock Curling Center, 10,000; Woodstock Minor Football Association, 9,500; Woodstock National Softball Association, 5,000. And further that the balance, 30,930, remain in the community grants program account number 0204-83747-007.
Thank you. Is there a seconder on the motion? Councillor Martin. Discussions or questions? Councillor Tate.
Just want to thank the committee once again. The mayor is now our councillor person on this. I'm always happy to see a different variety of organizations that we are able to help from this account.
Thank you. Councillor Leatherborough.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just procedurally, I hope I don't muddy the waters here, but seeing as that a different motion is still talking about this $30,000 balance, I just wanted to make my comments as it relates to the balance for the community grants. Certainly supportive of the food rescue hub and the $50,000 that was asked. The reason I bring up this remaining balance is because I am concerned of some of these groups, what their asks will be next year. Woodstock Curling Center, Minor Football Association, National Softball Association, Oxford Attack Basketball Club. There's a lot of kids that, you know, those fees have gone up, like soccer recreational in the city of Woodstock is now $235 per kid. So while there's money and, excuse me, I get a little emotional too, because I wish there was endless money for all of these organizations. I'm very torn as it proceeds to what happens next, because I do think a lot of these sports and activities will need more money next year because the economy is super, super challenging. So not to muddy the motions, but I just wanted to say I support the Food Rescue Hub, but I'm very torn on what happens to the balance of this $30,000 plus.
Thank you. Counselor Tate?
Yes, I should speak to why, so the public probably doesn't understand why I've got the motion the way it is, because the next motion would be for the 30,000 that's left in the grant committee, go to the food hub. And the reason for that is the food hub is going to affect every age group that we have in this municipality. So we get the funding from, for these grants from the slots. And I said this to somebody earlier, the money that we're getting from the slots, there's people gambling and they're losing money. So that's why it's a win for us, but it's not a good news story. So my concern is even going forward, some of the people that we're getting the money from, they're going to need this food insecurity program. So yes, I fully support all sports. I'm a big sports advocate. I've said that all along with children, but we get the intake 4 times a year, and I'm fully confident that that money is going to be there for them. But I think the food hub is the most important thing I have seen in years come forward, and I think that is going to affect everybody.
Thank you. Counselor Leatherborough?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and I appreciate that. I think Councillor Tate and I are both coming at this with an empathetic lens, and I just want to be clear again that I do support the food rescue program. The request was $50,000, and I did meet with a couple of the core team members that I just spoke about, and there was no suggestion in that moment that they needed extra funds than $50,000. As I said, I think we're both coming at this at empathetic positions, but I do think that carrying over funds and giving $50,000 to a new initiative is like best case scenario. So perhaps I'm making a decision about the next motion as I'm talking, but I don't think that it's a this versus that. I think that we need to be mindful that bellies need to be fed and kids need to be active. And if you have more than 2 kids, I have 4, as I've said, it's very expensive to put kids in recreational sports. $235 a player for soccer is crazy, which took my family out to Tempsford at $80 a player. So I'm driving 3 nights a week. So just feedback, and obviously this is all great that we have such a giving community, but I wanted to clarify my position.
Thank you. I think I saw Counselor Schadenberg's hand first. So sorry, Counselor Martin. Yeah, Counselor Schadenberg?
Just observing the nice little debate that's happening on that side of the room. I'm kind of lonely over here today. I just wanted to state, I talked to Jeremy Jensen, who's a longtime member of the Woodstock Minor Ball Association last night at the Chamber Awards. And one thing he was pointing out is how girls fastball or girls softball is really picking up again in popularity in the city of Woodstock. And it was quite sad and unfortunate, honestly, that it was dissipating over the years, but it really seems to be picking up speed again to grow. And that's why I'm mentioning this, because the Woodstock Nationals Softball Association is partly startup fee to help the Girls Softball Association really start growing again. The boys, for example, in the travel teams are called Woodstock Wranglers. So if you're watching this and you go, well, what the heck is the Woodstock Nationals Softball Association? It technically is all part of Woodstock Minor Ball Association.
Counselor Martin?
Thank you very much. I just wanted to comment on these 9 applications. What I was really pleased to see is there is a really nice blend of social programming that would be funded, youth programming, sports, arts and culture. It is a nice broad cross section. We do receive this money from the slots, and I am fully anticipating that we'll see it again next year. We never know the exact amount, but there is the spring intake and the fall intake. Of the 9 organizations, this is the second intake. I'm really hopeful that we'll see other groups stepping forward, asking for funds. This is a great way to get your organization moving forward on one-off projects that you might not currently be able to do. You might be able to meet a need in our community that is an emerging need. So always encouraging local groups to apply in the future, but I really liked this blend of applications. And kudos to these 9 organizations who'll be able to do new projects that they weren't able to do before.
Thank you. Anyone else? And making sure I see the screen. Liz? I just, as a member of this committee, it was traditionally very difficult to go through and decide how much money for each organization based on their requests. This time, this is the maximum of the requests. So in my experience on city council, I think this is the first time that more wasn't asked than what we had. And that's why there's a remaining balance left over of approximately $30,900. So in saying that, first off, please, to all those organizations, don't forget, make sure you put those applications in twice a year. And the committee does have the typically tough job of going through and trying to narrow down who deserves how much and so forth. So in that sense, I want to say a huge thank you to the committee, because I do know over the years how much work that goes into this. And a few of you in this room have been on those committees over the years. And I guess I'll leave the rest for the next motion. Yeah. Anyone else before I call the vote? All those in favor? That is carried. That brings us to 15B, which is the 2025 funding request. There has been a request to separate it out. So I'm going to put a motion on the floor first and see where that goes. Councillor Tate?
So you want it split out?
Sure, if that's the.
I'll do Woodstock City Council approve 50,000 from the Community and Social Wellbeing Reserve for the Food Rescue Hub.
Okay. Is there a seconder on that? Councillor Leatherborough? Discussion on that? Or any further discussion? I guess it's been touched on. I'll certainly say again, oh, Councillor Schanberg.
Once again, I'm slow of getting my hand up. Just wanted to clarify that's from the mayor's task force fund.
Yes, that is the initial ask. And I'd like to clarify too, when the group was talking with the mayor's task force, I guess I'm the one that's guilty of putting a maximum dollar amount on that. I want to put that out there. Initially, yeah, they had asked for 150,000 when they heard it was a 150,000 task force. And I said, well, we have 3 priorities identified under the mayor's task force for social well-being. One being homelessness and housing, next one being youth, and the last one, or more important one today, of course, is the food insecurity piece. So that is why the $50,000 came up, and I said that would be probably the best number to ask for, thinking it's kind of a third of the 150,000. So for all of council's awareness, that's where that dollar figure came from. Councillor Schanberg.
Again, maybe just background for the community. If you could state who on council is a member of the mayor's task force, only again, because we have a lot of committees and advisory boards. For example, Recreation Advisory that Councillor Martin and I sit on. And you want to avoid obviously quorums to sort of say, well, everyone on council is on this committee. Well, no, everyone on council is not on that committee.
That's a very valid point. Thank you, Councillor Schattenberg. Councillor Leatherborough and Councillor Wismer Van Meer sit on that committee as well as myself, as well as many in the community. We've probably got another 15 community members that meet on a regular basis talking about individual needs. And that's everyone from operation sharing to the Woodstock Hospital to Woodstock Police, fire departments, our public works. We have encampment teams. We have the OHT sitting there. We have Southwest Public Health sitting there. So Salvation Army. We have all kind of a lot of the key players that sit around that room and talk about this. And then the committee did give its full support towards the ask of the food insecurity, saying that this is the core, this is where it starts. Hunger, we have a very good chance of feeding everybody here in the city of Woodstock. Councillor Martin.
Thank you. Just a quick comment. I remember when you first brought this to me, because I don't sit on that committee, as Councillor Schattenberg pointed out, and you suggested 50,000, and I said, is that enough? Is that going to be enough? Because I know the costs of refrigeration. I know the costs of a food business. People, I see it on social media, people ask as you walk down the street, what are we doing to deal with, what are we actually doing to deal with encampments? What are we actually doing to deal with homelessness? What are we actually doing to, this food rescue hub is a tangible action that we are taking to address a part, not the full spectrum of need, but a significant part of the need in our community. And when we talk about what are we doing to address homelessness, this could actually be a preventative action that keeps people from falling into homelessness. And so this to me is upstream money that is well spent to address this critical need in our community. Fully support the 50,000, and we'll see where the next part of this debate goes.
Thank you. Anyone else? Trying to keep an eye on Liz there and make sure. No, then I'll call the vote. All those in favor? That is carried. So I'd ask for a second part to the motion. Councillor Tate.
I will move that 30,000, would the Woodstock City Council approve the allocation of funds, 30,930 from the remaining balance of the 2025 Community Grants Program to be directed to the Food Resource Hub in support of its initiatives.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder on that? Councillor Martin. Discussion. Councillor Tate.
So when I saw the agenda, and I contacted the mayor right away because he is on the grants committee. And then when I look at the information from the Community and Self-Wellbeing Reserve, from the Community and Self-Wellbeing, the goals and what your focus is, the food hub affects all three of those. So it was youth, homelessness, and food insecurity. So I thought there's no better way to help than to give a little bit more. And I just want, so the public is aware, we already subsidize a lot of the sports through the taxpayers. And then if there's kids that can't afford, we have the fair program for them. So that we are already doing all that. To me, this was the most important thing I have seen, as I said, come forward. And I think any bit that we can help, then it shows. And I think it's a big message to the other businesses and corporations that they're trying to fundraise from and to help out, that if the city buys into this and they understand the importance of it, then they will also help out. And I think that is really important, that we show that we are 100% behind this. It's not going back anything from the taxpayer, it's money that's sitting there. And I think it hits all three of your initiatives for the safe and well-being.
Thank you. Councillor Martin.
Thank you. I've already expressed my support for the Food Rescue Hub. The normal practice would be that this $30,930 would be carried over, put into a reserve and carried over for future use. And we could do that today. But then any organization within the Food Rescue Hub entity could apply for a community grant next year. I think we're really just circumventing that delay by allocating this money today. Today is where the greatest need is, not next March when the next intake of community grants funding it becomes available. So I know that every dollar is going to matter in getting this project on its feet. I think it was even June or July when you first talked to me, and this is November, and the need has continued to grow since this conversation started. So I don't want to delay. The funds are there. If otherwise they just sit in a reserve, let's use them.
Thank you. Anyone else? Counselor Wismer Van Meer.
Your worship, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I'm sorry. I have a
Sounds like you're
very,
still sick.
that is not, that's exactly why I'm not sitting in those chambers right now. Through your worship, just a comment. I came into today's meeting very uncertain of where I felt comfortable on this. You know, I give all the credit in the world to this group that have put the food hub together. I had so many comments about the presentation that was in the agenda today and how well put together it was. And with the folks that are sitting in the chambers today, it's not a surprise to me at all of what we had presented to us, because these are all very, very dedicated, smart, hardworking people. So I really struggled on how I felt, you know, allocating another 30,000 from the community grants program, knowing that the social well-being fund still has some dollars in there from what I understand, from what I can remember from our calculations, that could have potentially gone to this and not taken away from the community grants. But at the same time, I'm also hearing what Councillor Martin has said, and this money would just sit there until next year when new funds do come in. So this has been a really tough decision for me, because I don't want to take away from the food hub, because I really do think that this is funding that will really get this launched. But it is very difficult taking it from the community grants program when I know they could very well apply for this next year. But I also want to see this up and going as soon as possible. So it's been a tough decision. This is a really hard one to debate, and I'm still sitting here trying to figure out exactly where I'm going to land. But I just wanted to let them know how much I respect what they've done. And you know, I'm not sure if we have the dollar figures available, your worship, to how much we do have left in the social well-being reserve or not.
I've just asked that same question for you. I figured that was coming, so. I'll also remind council that we are just coming up to budget seasons as well, and the council can decide to take further funds out of OLG at any point in time and assign more to the different groups if so desired. $15 has been spent. What, 40? Right. Okay. Thank you. So we've got, Councillor Wismer Van Meer answer your question, but 124,500 in the mayor's task force reserves currently right now. Okay, Councillor Tate.
Yeah, it's through the chair, I was just talking to Councillor Martin, and I understand there's a large amount in reserves for in the grant committee reserve fund too. So this 30,000 was going to get added to what's already there.
Answer that. Yeah. Okay, I thought that was a lot higher than I was expecting. 124,500 is in the community grants reserves, not the mayor's task force reserves. I thought we spent everything last year. And we're just getting the number on the mayor's task force reserve. Councillor Tate?
Okay, so having a side discussion here, I'm going to withdraw my motion and do a new motion. Now that we know what the balances are in these. Okay,
As a second,
that
I support that
Yeah, I
withdrawal.
was just gonna ask. Seconders, okay, no objections from the rest of council, I assume? Don't see any. Okay, Councillor Tate.
so,
So that is withdrawn.
yeah,
Councillor
so
Tate?
my new motion was that Woodstock City Council approve the allocation of funds, 50,000 from the reserve account of the 2025 Community Grants Program. Community Grants Reserve Fund, 50,000.
So sorry, microphone wasn't on. So this is an additional 50,000 to the original 50,000 that's already approved. Okay? Do I have a seconder on that motion? Councillor Martin? Discussion? Councillor Tate?
To the chair, sorry, I was not aware how much was sitting in the reserve fund. So having a side discussion, it makes more sense to take that money out now and use it for this organization.
And also just for clarity then, the $30,930 would stay in the community grants from the previous motion. We've already done that, and that would get carried over next year. That is the understanding, correct? Mover and seconder? Yes. Okay, any further comments, discussions? Councillor Leatherborough?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just the clarity and the good news is that there's more money in this reserve. So everyone leaves happy and we all care about our community. So thank you for the clarification.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Wismer Van Meer.
Just to comment through you, Your Worship, yeah, I didn't realize that's the dollar figure we had in that reserve as well. So I apologize for throwing that question on you all very last minute. I have not been out of bed for about 2 days. So a lot of this is coming to my brain as we're sitting here. So seeing this does make me feel a lot more comfortable in being able to support this motion. So thank you.
Thank you for asking the questions. Councillor Martin.
So by my very basic math, that still leaves 75-ish thousand in the community grants reserve. Ballpark, we were at 124 and we're gonna utilize 50. And 30 is gonna go in, so. My point is, I don't need the exact numbers. My point is, as a council, let's start thinking about what are the community needs that we might utilize those funds for? Or do we leave them in reserves for greater needs down the road? The money is there. Having sat on the Community Grants Committee, I did know that that was sitting there. I didn't know the exact amount. But I think collectively, we need to think about how best, these are dollars that's kind of found money. This is not tax levy money. This is an opportunity for us to do some great things in our community when there is great need.
I'll agree. That's exactly what the OLG slot money was designed for when it was turned into the city. This goes along with previous council's decisions to keep reinvesting it in ways to further the community. Any other further questions or discussion before I call the vote? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed. That is carried. So thank you very much to the Food Rescue Hub. So that is $100,000 to help you get going and launching. Again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. I really, truly believe this is the game changer that the city of Woodstock needs right now, today, to help those that need it the most. So thank you all. Thank you. All right. Whew, before I get emotional. Yeah. Yeah. All right, we can go back. Thanks, everybody. Thank you. Well, I'd like to also say thank you to all of council for walking through that. Thank you to Councillor Tate and Councillor Martin for initially kind of discussing. Again, Councillor Leatherborough and Councillor Wismer Van Meer have been part of those discussions from the get-go. So thank you to all of council for recognizing and talking about it. So congratulations. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for being here today. Okay, thank you. All right, that brings us back to there are no consideration of planning reports. There's no consideration of correspondence, but we do have presentations from staff and approved agents. So at this time, I'd like to welcome Han Yager, Policy Planner, and April Nix, Manager of Policy Planning, County of Oxford. Welcome, please. I apologize for the delay. It certainly took longer than expected, but great outcome. Welcome. So this is updating the implementation policies of the official plan.
All right, can you hear me okay? Okay, just have to work through this slide deck. It's my first time at council chambers, so to permit me some technical difficulties. Opening up, perfect. And
We ask the back room, give some assistance for the presentation for 11A.
okay, great. Perfect.
There you go.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Wow, those was really exciting delegations and things to witness. So I hope I can keep the excitement up with this technical presentation. So good afternoon, Mayor and members of council. So my name is Hani Yeager, probably new to some of you, and I'm joined here with April Nix, who is the manager of the planning policy team. And we're here as part of our consultation on the amendments to the official plan to improve implementation policies. All right. So to provide some background on this project, in May of 2022, community planning staff proposed reviewing Chapter 10, which concerns implementation, to County Council as part of a phased approach to updating the official plan. And since then, as we all probably are aware, there's been many changes to the Planning Act, and we have a recently updated 2024 provincial planning statement that has affected how municipalities approach the development review and land use planning in general. So recognizing the breadth of recent changes, we're now proposing to prioritize this part of amending these implementation policies to conform with legislation, provide opportunities to streamline review procedures, and add clarity for the existing procedures that we do. On September the 10th, 2025, County Council permitted staff to initiate this project, which is why we're here today. So we're here to inform and consult with local councils and staff. And we've also included the draft policies and the staff report from that council meeting as attachments for today's agenda. Oh, wrong way. Okay. So we won't be discussing the details of these bills, but this slide illustrates the scope or breadth of how much the Planning Act has been amended over time that the proposed policies will be working to address and acknowledge. Every bill is, of course, a little bit different in terms of its content and its impact to the Act, but suffice to say, we're taking a comprehensive approach to this technical update. So today, our summary of proposed changes will fall into 3 general categories. So first, we have 2 slides on opportunities to improve the development process. Second, we have minor updates to add clarity and transparency. And lastly, requirements and procedures for major projects and studies. No, I gotta pull it towards myself. Okay, so with regards to opportunities to improve the development process, I first want to start by underscoring that the following tools are optional, and generally these proposed policies in the official plan enable the use of these tools that are optional. So that means without these official plan policies being in effect and a bylaw being passed by an area municipal council, these tools cannot be used and they're not required to be used. We've grouped these 3 tools together on this slide purposely because there is an opportunity to use them together for certain types of planning applications, such as zoning bylaw amendments that are minor or technical in nature. The benefit of these tools is that they can help staff manage simpler applications faster and with greater flexibility to meet legislative requirements while maintaining legislative timelines. Generally, the proposed official plan policies will give local councils the choice to provide delegated approval authority powers to staff for things like zoning bylaw amendments that are minor or administrative in nature. The proposed official plan policies list what these minor zoning bylaw amendments include. For example, the lifting of a holding or a rezoning that could be associated with a lot line adjustment. This would not give staff the authority to refuse applications. And if an application was approved through this process, its corresponding bylaw would still need to be passed at council. The proposed policies will also give councils a choice to permit staff to use alternative measures of notice. Under this permission, notice requirements would still need to be met. However, for example, if a mail strike were to occur, notice could instead be published on a website to meet those legislative requirements instead of having to rely on physical mail. The proposed policies also give councils the choice to permit the ability for staff to waive a public meeting. This could be appropriate for applications where residents don't typically attend those public meetings. So to use the example of a rezoning associated with a lot line adjustment, where there's an opportunity for for the public to give feedback at the preceding consent application. Notice would still need to be given to residents about the application to provide any input as desired. And again, this provides staff added flexibility to complete simple applications faster and remove duplication in the process. The last thing that I'll note is that in addition to this being an optional tool or optional tools, it's also flexible. Local councils don't have to do all of the things that the official plan policies contemplate. You may, for example, want to just try starting out with one, such as a removal of a holding bylaw, and then consider revising it to expand its abilities once a level of comfort has been established. A local bylaw can also be designed with safeguards in mind. For example, a council may rescind delegated approval authority or require that an application go through the typical public meeting or council decision exercise if that application has certain characteristics that would essentially disqualify it from the delegated approval authority or the waiving of a public meeting. These sorts of details don't need to be determined determined right now. And we envision that they'll be designed through further consultation with staff, and then the bylaw itself would still need to be reviewed and passed by council to establish those powers at a local level. Continuing on with opportunities to improve the development process, we've added some informative policies concerning community planning permit systems, another optional tool. So CPPS essentially combines multiple planning applications into a single planning permit that has a 45-day approval deadline. And this tool has pros and cons. It may be difficult for municipalities to implement and design initially, but it can also help incentivize specific types of development that meets a municipality's strategic objectives. And it has been used for things like affordable housing, urban design, or vegetation protection by other municipalities. I'm purposefully describing these as informative policies because this type of tool works best by being carefully scoped and designed. So that means further background studies, official plan policy changes, and a CPPS bylaw would all be required to be established before locally appropriate and an effective CPPS area can be used. We're also proposing policies regarding complete application requirements that are intended to be informative in nature. So this means the plan will state what may be required for an application to be deemed complete. And this change can help make the local planning system more transparent to proponents and users of the official plan. I'll note here that recent changes this year to the Planning Act through Bill 17 has added some complexity to how municipalities establish complete application requirements in their official plan. We are actively monitoring that right now, and we'll navigate that as we prepare a report for County Council. And then lastly, we're proposing to add policies that link development to the county's recently passed allocation bylaw, which affects how water and/or wastewater servicing capacity is assigned, withdrawn, or reallocated. So these policies will ensure that development, such as site plans or subdivisions, are meeting those procedures and protocols outlined in that allocation bylaw. For our next category of changes, minor updates, in short, these policies will either state existing processes, such as when planning approvals lapse, for example, or the different types of planning applications that the Planning Act permits municipalities to consider, or make small adjustments to existing criteria. And that latter piece is largely informed by development planners who use these review criteria in their day-to-day work. Again, these changes will help users of the official plan understand existing practices and requirements by adding clarity. And unlike the earlier two slides, these amendments do not contemplate new tools or accommodate new legislative changes. They're intended to be minor and informative in nature. Lastly, we have updates relating to requirements and processes for major studies and projects. And these proposed amendments will achieve two things. They'll reflect the provincial planning statement and Planning Act changes regarding settlement area expansions and aim to update policies to reflect county and local municipal practices used for expansions. So in short, the intent of these changes is to keep our tools up to date and reflect what we already do so well, so that when municipalities approach the when and the where growth can happen, the how is easier to navigate. So that concludes the summary of all those technical changes, but for next steps, we will be consolidating any feedback received from council and municipal staff as we prepare revised official plan policies to circulate formally. Once any final changes are made, we'll present our recommended official plan amendment to County Council, noting again that a separate amendment may be required for those complete application policies to reflect the changes through Bill 17 that we are continuing to monitor. Provided that the policies are passed as generally proposed today, we can then work with area municipal staff and councils to explore and provide any further understanding of any of the optional planning tools that were discussed in our presentation today. Thank you all for your time, and I'm available for questions with April as well.
Thank you for that. Any questions of council? Councillor Sandberg.
Yeah, from the mayor through to our delegation. This is housekeeping, but it's more than housekeeping as far as getting some of these remedies or some of these updated items. The one comment I'd always want to make is, for example, if something is approved at the city level at our second meeting of the month, it then goes to the county meeting, which is usually their first meeting of the next month, and you talk about a 45-day or a delay in procedures as far as even if it's a simple or a difficult thing like a brand new subdivision to be approved, I would be of the opinion, this is my opinion speaking here, that if it's approved at the municipal level, the city of Woodstock level, the one way you could save time is to not bring it to the county level and have them then approve it as well. What are sort of the planning matters, thoughts or opinions on that idea?
So, through the mayor, um, in specific reference to the mention of the 45 days. So the 45-day approval process would apply specifically to where a community planning permit system may be put in place. We don't have any in place anywhere in the county, including in the city of Woodstock currently. And that process would not, if we did put a community planning permit system in place, that process would not involve a county level approval because it combines zoning, site plan, and committee of adjustment specifically into a singular permit that has to be processed and approved within a 45-day period. So that's a very specific tool available in the Planning Act that specifically combines those three types of applications together. In terms of the scope and breadth of the types of changes we're contemplating here, we're not proposing any changes at this point in terms of how we deal with things like official plan amendments or subdivisions specifically. There have been some other technical aspects changing for some of the subdivision uh, sort of pieces around lapsing and around allocation, as Hannah mentioned. So with things like how allocation, having the updated allocation bylaw tools in place now, and then having those reflected in the official plan will also help provide greater clarity and streamlining to make sure that those things are working as effectively as possible. Compared to other municipalities as well, I would just note um, where an upper tier application is typically happening concurrently with a lower tier, the fact that we have it moving from a last meeting to a first meeting within the span of a couple of weeks is far, far faster than how many of our neighbors would do it. It could be in the span of many months in some other two-tier systems. So the degree and way we have our applications and processes set up now is actually much more efficient than many of our neighbors. And part of that comes from the fact that we have a singular official plan as well. So, if there's other ideas or questions around ways to improve things, that's obviously feedback that we will take back, and those are always things that I myself am listening for, as well as Eric, who is here as well as our development manager within the planning department. So we're always listening for ideas around that, but I would just note that we actually have a really fantastic degree of efficiency compared to many other two-tiered systems already in place.
Thank you. In fact, I just did a grand opening with a business, Mr. Hammond and I, and they were actually very complimenting us on the rate everything was approved and the efficiencies found. So just for Councillor Schadenberg's confirmation, let's call it, that from somebody from the Netherlands even just said, yes, they were quite impressed the way everything is here in the city of Woodstock and Oxford County. So anyone else? Any other comments or questions? Sorry, Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Tony. Always looking for ways to improve and innovate and advance, and I think that that's the intention of this project. I recently went through a zone change on a property that I am a part owner of, and the thing with the planning process, yes, it is efficient, and we're much more efficient here in Woodstock and Oxford than a lot of other jurisdictions, but it still always takes longer than you think it will take. And there is always, there's the notice time, and then there's the actual meeting, and then there's the appeal process, and there are stages, and they're there for a reason. One of the suggestions that you have here is alternate measures of public notice. One of the criticisms at my public meeting was that one of the neighbors didn't receive a written notice. And the written notice, I believe, is only 120 meters and they were just outside that 120 meters, but they said, I didn't get a written notice, but I saw the yellow sign. And I'm like, well, then the yellow sign worked. And that was the whole point of the yellow sign, is to announce a public meeting. And so that's how they receive their notice. So times change, right? Like when we used to mail out public notices all the time, we didn't have social media. We didn't have, right, multiple local news channels. We didn't have the mechanisms that we have today for reaching people. So fully applaud some of the suggestions that are in here, because the 13 acts that are or provincial acts that are referenced here, it's not the end of them. There will be more. And so we need to be able to be nimble enough to react and serve our community.
Thank you. Anyone else? I just want to say that I'm very happy to hear that we're constantly trying to improve. That's for sure. I'll always be concerned, though, to make sure that we are clear to the public of what's going on, as well as transparent that the process. So I'll still share those. I'll still make sure that we want to, the talk of eliminating some public meetings is a question to me. And I guess the question to you directly then, if that is the decision being made, will the public still have a way to reply? As you said, you'd still have to notify them. How does that work?
Thank you for your question. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I can confirm if a council were to choose to use alternative measures of notice, statutory requirements for delivering notice would still be required, and the same goes for a public meeting. How that really plays out in terms of implementation for the bylaw, those are certainly questions that we are actively looking at, finding ways to illustrate to local municipal staff and councils and show examples of how that's being done, because these aren't necessarily brand new tools. There is examples of that in practice, and municipalities are finding those solutions to ensure that residents have appropriate notice and they're having opportunities to provide input in cases where input is being received. There are safeguards in place through the bylaw to ensure that when council review and decision is necessary, that is happening. The one other maybe example that I just provide, and Hannah mentioned this in the presentation too, is around, say, an idea, something like a lot line adjustment. So there's already a public meeting happening through Land Division Committee at the county level for that application. So if the bulk of the discussion or engagement, if you will, with the community happens at the Land Division Committee, and we're able to streamline the consideration of an implementing zone change that is really implementing a condition of that decision, and it meets all of the local zoning requirements anyway, do we need a second public meeting in that particular instance for the individual zone change? So it's where we've almost kind of got a doubling up of those public meetings are the ones that I think staff are perhaps thinking about as a possible example of maybe where we want to start with these. We're not trying to push the limits out the gate, trying to bring forward sort of some practical examples as a bit of a trial balloon to see where there's a level of interest and where there may be opportunities to offer some streamlining on some of these things to reduce reports and to reduce council time, especially if we're already dealing with a public meeting in another format or somewhere else within the broader process as a whole.
I think that's key. That's the most important, that at least there will be an opportunity and that we're clear to the public what that opportunity, when that opportunity is going to be, and very transparent of what's going on within whatever discussion we're talking about. So thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, I'm looking for a motion. Councillor Tate.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council receive the presentation from County of Oxford Planning Department regarding proposed changes to the implementation policies and the official plan as information.
Thank you. Looking for a seconder? Counselor Leatherborough? Discussion, Counselor Tate.
Through the chair, just a comment, so the public's aware, of Counselor Schadenberg's comment about having to come here and then to the county. So because we're two-tier, it has to go, once they come here, they still have to go to the county. The only way to change that is the province, and I have complained a number of times to get it streamlined, so it's only at one. As I'm sure a number of people have. But I just want to, further to that, I just want to compliment the planning department because they've always been right on top of anything. If I have a question, Eric, even if he's on holidays, he answers my questions, and the same with the department head with Paul. So they have been fantastic. So it's not their issue about the two-tier. It's we need to have it more streamlined.
I'll certainly agree with that. Planning department's relationships between city and county is fantastic and really pleased with that. But agree that sometimes things do seem to go an extra month or two and they don't necessarily need to, but that's exactly what you're talking about. So thank you. Anyone else? I'll call the vote. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much, ladies. There's no mayor's report today. There's no counselor reports. We do have some department reports. Nothing from administrative services, but we do have engineering today at 14B.1, Cowan Fields Draft Plan of Subdivision. Looking for a motion? Counselor Leatherborough.
Moved by myself that Woodstock City Council authorize the mayor and the clerk to sign the application for draft plan of subdivision approval and any other related documents as required.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Counselor Wismer Van Meer, discussion or questions? Ask him. No questions, discussions? Then I'm gonna ask myself. Mr. Don, do you mind speaking to this for the public?
Your worship, through to yourself. As you mentioned, yeah, this is for creating the draft plan, start the process of developing the lands that are currently north of the new ball fields that were built on for Devonshire. When we built those ball fields, we did through site plan, basically because we weren't creating any public roads or anything. In this development, we'll have to include an extension of Springbank throughout the property, as well as a north-south road that will connect Springbank, the extension of Springbank to lands down to the north, which is why we're doing the draft plan subdivision process for this one.
May I add that with consideration of the North Woodstock Recreation Facility in that neighborhood?
You certainly may. I think Brian wants to see this go through, yes.
Yeah, I think we all do. Thank you very much. Anyone else? Call the vote. All those in favor? That is carried. Next up, 14B.2, consolidation of transportation reserves. Looking for a motion. Counselor Leatherborough.
Moved by myself that Woodstock City Council approve the consolidation of the road reconstruction, asphalt resurfacing, and street lighting reserves into a singular transportation reserve ahead of the 2026 budget.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Counselor Tate, discussions or questions? Seeing none. All those in favor? That is carried. Next, we have 14B.3, Southside Park Shop Renovation Tender Award. Looking for a motion? Counselor Tate.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council authorize a budget increase of $175,000 from the Southside Park Shop interior renovations to be funded by the Capital Projects Reserve.
Not sure if you said 175,500.
Not, so 175,500, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a seconder? Counselor Schattenberg? Questions, discussion? Counselor Schattenberg?
Yeah, question through his staff, just to explain what specifically is getting done for 175,500 in the Southside Parks shop for renovations.
Your worship, through the counselor. Yeah, basically we're converting some of the, what's existing, stall space or equipment storage space into office space.
Counselor Martin?
Thank you, through you. Would there be any staff displaced during that project?
Your worship, through the counselor, not that I'm aware of.
Maybe some equipment, but Counselor Schattenberg?
Just as a follow-up, if you're creating more office space there, is there a specific plan to have additional people move into the Parks Department office upon the completion of this? For example, I know that the Special Events Department moved from the Parks office up to the community complex. What are the plans for the new office spaces then?
Your worship, through to the counselor's question. It won't be the special events staff. Currently, the staff are using, just as an example, like the lunchroom is the meeting room, you know, is the space. And when we're looking at the size of a lot of the space there, it just can't manage the people that are in there now. So it's not a question of bringing more back. Special events has their space, and I think they're quite happy with it. So it wouldn't be more coming in right away.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, call the vote. All those in favor? That is carried. Next up, 14B.4, City Hall expansion. Counselor Leatherborough.
Moved by myself that consideration of report 14B4 regarding the City Hall expansion be deferred until the city's 2027 budget deliberations in November 2026.
Thank you. Is there a seconder on that? Counselor Martin, discussion? Counselor Leatherborough, or questions?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. When Councillor Schattenberg tabled his motion, I think a month ago, I did ask senior staff like a time frame when next steps feasibility study would come back to council. And in fact, it was mentioned that it would be next term of council next year. So appreciate the report, Mr. DeHaan. But I don't think that this is a priority for this council at this time. And I think to skate or not to skate, ironically enough, we're all waiting for that future rec facility. So I think that that's something that we can focus on. And I just ultimately was comfortable with the next term of council. We'll have to cross this bridge when they get to it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Counselor Martin.
Yeah, thank you, through you. Just in the previous report and motion, we identified that we're able to create staffing spaces when we need to in our existing buildings. We renovated the Market Center and have a number of people working over there. We've been able to accommodate our growth up until this point. So again, I agree with Councillor Leatherborough that if this waits a year, it's not the highest priority in my mind for this city at this time. I think that there's a lot of other higher priorities that we need to address. I know there's a lot of questions in this report on what exactly is council's vision for this project. But to me, when I think of the original scope of the project that was presented to us, it is much more grand than I would ever have imagined would have been brought before us. People consistently refer to downtown revitalization and renovations as a $50 million project, but 23.6 million of that is that unknown city hall expansion that is not a definitive project. And so it has created misleading conjecture in the community. And so fully support the motion for this to become a 2027 priority, and the next term of council can deal with it.
Thank you. Counselor Tate?
Through the chair, I have a couple of questions for the city engineer, but so when I look at this as a deferral, basically it's a reconsideration of the motion that we all passed to look at a scaled down version. So my concern is if we defer this, that the 24 million for the city expansion and the 8 million for Market Square will sit on the books. Is that correct? Or so the public knows, in the report, all staff is asking is for direction for a scaled down addition to City Hall, because that was what the motion was. So we're not giving you now any direction. So when the motion, if it passes, doesn't come back to the next council, then that council is gonna have to start all over and give direction. So I'll push it out 2 years, which, I mean, to me, I'm fine. I wasn't for any of it to start with. But we started down this path when we passed the entire streetscape. So now it is sitting on the books. I just want to know if this is still going to be sitting on the books.
Your worship, through the counselor, and the 8 million, I think, is shown in a future year in the five-year budget for the square renovation. Knowing Councillor Schadenberg's motion of wanting to rescale the addition, that original number, right now we have it penciled in the capital budget. And I don't remember which year, I'd have to defer to the CAO for that, but right, we lowered that number to 15 million. And that, again, that was just a guess, knowing that council wanted something smaller, but not knowing exactly how much smaller. So that's where it's standing right now.
Your worship, we're in the midst of preparing the draft capital budget, and the capital budget will be before council at your next meeting. My recollection is that we do have the 8 million. We do have the City Hall expansion at 23 million. It sits in, I believe, 2028 in the forecast for 2028. So it's not approved for proceeding. We bring that to you as a draft capital budget, and council will deliberate on this. And if it's council's wish, and council through motion can direct that to be removed from the forecast completely, and the final capital budget will reflect that those projects are gone, and the new council can revisit it with fresh eyes and give staff direction at that time.
Counselor Tate, continue.
Okay, so I'm clear. So this deferral was in direct relation to a motion that was passed at council. But even if we deferred this, at budget time, we can take the project completely out. And then this motion disappears, basically, and the report disappears. Because there's been given no direction. So would it still come back?
So your worship, the motion on the floor is to bring it back in the new term of this report in the new term of council. So that's what staff would do. If this motion passes, it would come to the new council for deliberation and subsequent direction as part of the 27 capital budget deliberation.
Continue.
So further to that, then I would not support a deferral. I would support receive as information. And then it would be, when we come up to budget, we can take it right out of the budget. Is that not correct, procedurally wise? I think so.
Yeah. Counselor Martin?
I have a procedural question. If this is passed the way it was currently read, would a motion during budget deliberations to remove it from the budget supersede this and put this motion as null and void? Or are they both?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I would suggest in that case, the wording for the motion that you would pass during budget would be clear enough that you would pull the report from coming forward. So something along the lines of notwithstanding the motion that was, or the direction that was given, I would think that would be procedurally in line, yes.
Okay, Counselor Tate?
Yeah, sorry, through the chair, just so follow up on that. So if we defer it to the new council, it's still gonna take at least, so they would have to give direction, and then you still gotta get the consultant report, and so it's still another couple years. So that's why I would just receive his information. If you're not comfortable doing it, then just receive his information. And then the next council can deal with it if they want to go ahead with an addition. But otherwise, I think we answered the questions that the city engineer put forward.
Counselor Leatherborough?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So I guess I'll just pose that, I mean, I thought it was bizarre to even see this report. Again, nothing against the city engineer, but this council has flip-flopped on downtown, period, this entire term. Like in 2022, before this term of council came in, the entire plan from start to finish was endorsed with a stamp of approval. We've had one phase, we've had no phases, we've had integrity commissioners, we've had 2 phases. So all I'm saying is that, to me, it doesn't seem like a priority. I'm sure it's going to be a topic for the election. So if we want to receive it as information, if there's going to be another motion that says completely withdraw it come capital budget, I would have seen Councillor Schattenberg's motion in the capital budget process so residents can follow along properly. So if there's any feedback on, I don't think that this is a priority for this term of council, let me know.
Thank you. Counselor Schattenberg?
Yeah, comment to the chair, mayor. I guess the best way of looking at this is to sort of say, when you start looking, whether it's 2027 or 2028 or even 2029 for a renovation of this building or an addition to this building for future needs, let's face the facts. It was 1968, I believe, this became Woodstock City Hall, before it was a post office, obviously. So therefore, as time goes on and as staff increases, I'm never going to say that there's not going to be a need for an addition to this building or an upgrade of facilities, even if it comes to something like public bathrooms, for example, that's never going to be needed in this building. My original concern was, for example, the room that we're sitting in right now was to sort of say, for many public meetings, and even today when we started our meeting here today, the room was pretty full, but there's certainly some public meetings, including the 401 Lakeview as an address, where this room was way too small for the public meeting. But I would think that there'd still be the opportunity, if that was to happen again, and the clerk's office can sort of project or depict that maybe it's going to be a full house, that we make plans to move that planning meeting across the street. And really, all you just need is signage on the door. It says, oh, we're across the street tonight. And it's not like you got to travel 6 or 7 blocks to find a county administration building, because obviously it's a nice city that it's right there. And as far as what Councilor Leatherborough said, I've voted against downtown streetscape improvement. As far as when RFPs and stuff or tenders that want to get approved, I've voted against it 6 or 7 times. So I have no idea where the flip flop happens. And I think from day one, and I know Councilor Lauder's not here, but she would agree with it, that redevelopment of Museum Square has always been a priority. And that's where we started with MHPC 5 or 6 or 7 years ago. And Andrea Sinclair from MHPC has been the consistent planner on that plan the whole time. And then it went from that, not that I want to change the topic here, but it went from that, and to be out of order because I don't want to do that, but it went from that to, therefore, let's do downtown Dundas Street as well. And to me, I'll say this today even, that was more of a surprise and a shock, because we were talking about skating or not skating in Museum Square 6, 7 years ago. As far as downtown Museum Square possible improvements. And that's why we started consolidating the buildings, including TriStar that's still open next door.
Counselor Tate?
And through the chair, the reason the report is here from the city engineer is because we voted for it and it was unanimous. So that's why we have the report. We were looking for a scaled down version because some of us were concerned about the money that was being spent. And I have to echo, there's been no flip flopping on this. When we receive a report, it doesn't mean we are doing the entire report from a consultant. So when you receive a report from a consultant, you take things from the report and either you pass them or you don't. It's been pretty clear in this council chamber those that were supporting and those that were. So there's no flip-flopping. That's not what this is about. This is about deferring the questions that the city engineer has posed from a motion that we passed. So either we're not in support of that motion anymore, and if that's the case, then just defer it, or sorry, just receive his information, because nobody wants to go forward. So that is why we have this in front of us. This isn't a report that the city engineer made up. We passed a motion, so he needs clarity from the motion for the scaled down version. And as time goes on, things change. So that was the whole point, but there's been no flip-flopping in this chamber whatsoever.
Okay, I was gonna remind everybody that we're not here to debate the whole thing again. We are simply here because of, as Councillor Tate just mentioned, we do have a report that was requested, and we do have to respect staff that they need an answer. Okay, so currently, just as a reminder, we do have a deferred motion on the floor. Is there any other questions or comments based on the deferred motion on the floor? Seeing none. Okay, then I will look for, well, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Against? Okay, that fails. So at that point, I am looking for a new motion on the floor. Councillor Tate.
Sorry. I'll make a motion that Woodstock City Council receive the report from the city engineer as information.
Is there a seconder on that? Councillor Leathermore? Discussion? Or questions? Councillor Schattenberg?
Yeah, again, I do want to compliment staff on creating the report. And it is 6 pages long, and sometimes by the time you get to page 5, somebody's eyes start wandering in different directions. So, and not to say anyone at council's done that, because I would say that it's certainly not the case. But for example, it talks about the fact that on November 20th, 2025 is when we get presented to council the capital budget for 2026. And let's face it, it's for 2026 and 2026 only. Anything beyond that is just kind of a placeholder. But of course, it does remind us that the 125th birthday of the city of Woodstock happens next year in 2026. So to be able to avoid maybe some downtown construction on the actual Dundas Street itself during that year is probably important. And there's also a very good reason to sort of say, well, maybe it's next council decides what to do as far as phase 3 goes, which obviously connects phase 1 to phase 2 that are now completed in the future beyond the next election.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Well, again, I just want to say thank you to staff. This is exactly what we did ask for you to bring forward. A lot of big decisions being made, and I do tend to agree that we are not in a position right now to look at the tax levy cost currently. Recognizing we will soon, future councils will have the tough decisions on how to have more personnel as a growing city. Somebody that works out of this building on a daily basis. I do see the constraints very regular, but we are managing, and with the market center, of course, online, that's taken a lot of the pressures off for the time being. But recognizing this isn't going away, sometime in the next few years, some tough decisions are going to be made, but I do agree that I think it'll be the next council's decisions. Anyone else before I call the vote? All those in favor? None opposed. That is carried. Nothing from cultural services, parks and recreation, Southside Park expansion update is next. Looking for a motion, Councillor Tate.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council receives the Southside Park expansion update report as information.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Counselor Shattenberg, questions and discussion? Counselor Shattenberg.
Yeah, from the mayor through to Brian Connors from Parks and Recreation, just give us a background as to some of what the work some of your staff has already been preparing to get to the point we are today as far as the expansion. I know some work has significantly been done that's noted in the report as well. That's sort of been a framework or a starting point.
Your worship, through to the councilor's question, the project manager for this is Rita Haran, and she is in the audience today, so maybe I can ask her to come up and provide the update.
I was debating on calling you up from the get-go, so that's perfect. Thank you. Welcome.
Councillor Schattenberg, you're correct. Most of the information is outlined in the report there. We've worked on some wetlands. We've had a number of community partners that have come in and done plantings on the property, a lot of naturalization. We've mitigated some risk by removing approaches to our bridges that came back as unsafe. So trying to make sure the public can utilize those spaces. And we've addressed a few encroachment areas and property lines.
Continue. Looks like you're pushing button. Yes?
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up as sort of just a comment. As some would know, I'm the UTRCA board for the city of Woodstock, and I was talking to Brad Hertner. In fact, he emailed me back a nice statement from the UTRCA to talk about some of the partnerships that have been going on. So I'm sure you've been working with Brad Hertner and his crew and others like Ducks Unlimited, day in and day out on some of the work that has been done already. And what's interesting sometimes is I will read the email, but sometimes what's interesting sometimes is not only that you are planting, it sometimes is what you're planting in an area like that to be able to create a cohesive new habitat for whatever it be, animals or turtles or whatever. But he just sort of said the transformation down there at Cedar Creek is going very well so far. Lots of partners, a diversity of projects, including trees, aquatics, wetlands, pollinators, always very important to the Environment Advisory Committee, invasive control, turtle habitat, high survival rates so far, and lots of participation from the community and the nearby schools. So getting schools involved, especially with things like the tree planting. We have current funding in place for more planting, of course, in 2026. So that's UTRCA and in partnership with the city of Woodstock and organizations like Ducks Unlimited. So it's, as we say, so far so good, but really so far so great for the projects that's going on down there.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. With that, I'll just wait a second before I call the vote. Any further questions before I call the vote? Or comments? Your microphone's on, Councillor Schattenberg. I'm just making sure. Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? None. Okay, that is carried. From Economic Development, 14E1, proposed lease of office space at 21 Market Street. Looking for a motion. Councillor Tate.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council approve an office space lease at 21 Market Street with the Woodstock District Chamber of Commerce, and the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the necessary lease agreement.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Schattenberg. Discussion or questions? Councillor Martin.
Yeah, my comments aren't about the Chamber of Commerce. They aren't about the people. They aren't about the organization. But in principle, I'm not in favor of leasing out to a third-party organization. We've just had extensive discussions about spending millions of dollars on creating new office space, and yet we're having conversations now about leasing out to a third party for 5 years when a future city hall that refers to recalling all of the people back from that building, we would be leaving one lone person in an empty building on a 5-year lease. So the details of it, the principle of it, I'm not supportive of. I think that there's potential security issues with fobs, and at $450 a month, this is not, a great revenue generator. It's not, it has great community collaboration, but every other organization is now going to come knock on the door and say, can we get space? Can we get space? And I think it sets an unfortunate precedent.
Anyone else? Counselor Tate.
Just through the chair, whoops, sorry, if Mr. Hammond can speak to this, I did question him because I was concerned about office space, but he did comment on that, if you wanted to speak to the rest of council.
Great, your worship, through to the question. Thanks very much. So, yeah, Councillor Tate and I did have that discussion about the ability to grow office space within our building. For anyone that's been in there, it's a fairly large space for the 6 of us that are working in there right now. So, there's opportunity to create other work areas within our end of the building, where the economic development office is. There's at least 2 areas where you can kind of set up a kind of a hot desk or a common working area, or a cubicle, for lack of a better description, something like that. So there's at least 2 areas in our end of the building where that could still happen. And then the meeting room area of the building, or the center part of the building, is quite a large expanse as well. We're looking at turning it into a training room, or kind of that type of room. That being said, prior to us moving in, I believe there was at least 1 office area back in there too that really didn't take away from the common space. So there are options to grow additional workspace within that building. In terms of the concept of the Chamber of Commerce specifically, it's an idea that's been kicked around for quite some time. I think it was being talked about when I started with the city 20 years ago, that wouldn't it be great to have all of the business organizations under one roof? And I think we wouldn't normally be bringing this type of proposal to council if it was just anyone. But we've traditionally had a close working relationship with the Chamber of Commerce, and we see this as a way to work much closer together.
Continue.
Yeah, so just further to that, when I look at it, and we had the conversation, we have small business in there, we have economic development, we have BIA. So this is just a natural organization to be in the Chamber of Commerce. And I don't think we're ever moving those people out of there into a large expansion here. I think they'll end up staying there. So I don't think that's an issue, but it's not like it's a third party business. This is everything that works together. So when somebody comes to the city and they've got questions with the small business, we've got the chamber right there.
Thank you. Anyone else? Well, I just say I am super excited about this. I think anybody that works with the Woodstock Chamber realizes the wealth of knowledge and tools they have to work in collaboration with our small business center, with our BIA, with all our different departments, with economic development. When I first heard this, that thought process started, it was such a natural fit. I really truly believe that a lot more good can do in 5 years' time. It is a 5-year lease. With the room that's available now, I'm very confident we won't run out of room within that department anyways. And I don't see that being a factor of space being an issue. Anyone else before I call the vote? Sorry?
Thank you, Your Worship. But one other piece of information that might put council's mind at ease. As with any lease agreement, there's always clauses written into it to how one party or the other could break the lease if need be. So, very standard for leases. There's a 60 days clause to give notice, either the chamber to us or us to them if something came up that we're 4.5 years into the lease, let's say, and there's a massive addition at City Hall and we're going to be moved back here. There would be the option to exercise the 60 days notice if need be.
Thank you for bringing that up because we did discuss that as well. Anyone else? I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Next up, 14E.2, proposed sale of city-owned land on Ingersoll Avenue. Looking for a motion, Councillor Leatherborough.
Moved by myself that Woodstock City Council authorize the sale of city-owned land at the northwest corner of Ingersoll Avenue, and the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the necessary agreements, and further that the purchase and sale bylaw be referred to the bylaw section of the agenda.
Thank you. Looking for a seconder? Okay, Councillor Wismer Van Meer. I wasn't sure if I saw her hand up or not. Discussion, Councillor Leatherborough.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I would just ask Mr. Hammond to speak again to this report.
Great. Thank you, Your Worship. Through to the question. So the report itself is very typical of many things we do. You know, 2 or 3 times a year, sometimes we're selling off little bits and pieces of land that we have around the city, laneways, part lots and things like these. And these are largely lots that don't really contribute to the operation of this city. So from that point, it's very typical. What I do want to share with council is that sometimes when we're writing reports to come to council a week later, the situation evolves a little bit or there's new information. So I have some information I want to share with council, and that's simply that the purchaser has asked to make the purchase conditional on his own change, and that the city authorize him to act as our agent prior to closing on the land to apply for a zone change, so that it'll be a consistent zone, not only on the part that he's buying from us, but the part that he already owns. From what I understand, he'll be asking to rezone the property to permit a triplex. And it's just to kind of save time for him. You know, several times that I can recall, we've entertained this request and just approved them to act as our agent prior to closing on the property. You know, the most recent industrial one I can think of would be Sunrise Poultry, that they had asked to file for a zone change to permit their use prior to closing on the property. And there's been, you know, several other instances I can think of as well. So it's not unusual, but I think it's important council's aware of that before they call the vote. So just wanted to share that.
So procedurally then, does that have to get added? Any language need to be added to the motion?
That's an excellent question for Mr. Bunn. So I did email him about 30 minutes ago with this. Mr. Bunn, I'll defer to you.
Okay.
Through your worship, I appreciate that extra information. So thank you for asking, Councilor Leatherborough, for the question. I would suggest, given that information to the commissioner, that there be a clause added to the resolution. And I'm just on the fly thinking here, so just give me one quick moment. So we could potentially say that conditional to successful zone change application, the city of Woodstock, or Woodstock City Council authorizes sale. So we can just put in a little condition at the front there that authorize.
Yeah, I apologize for this situation again. I got a text or rather an email at the beginning of the meeting. So the alternative would be to approve the sale and then bring a second report back to the next meeting asking for the agency status.
Okay, your worship, I don't believe the issue is so much the condition of closing on a successful zone change as it is authorizing the city to authorize the proposed purchaser to act as the applicant. So we're giving essentially agency status to the proposed purchaser for filing the zone change on our behalf. And I think that would be the language in the motion that we'd be seeking.
So what I'm gonna ask is to reread this. If you can email that back, I'll have you reread the motion just for everybody's is clear, if that's okay. Okay. Yep. We'll just pause a second here.
So moved
Go
by
ahead.
myself that Woodstock City Council authorize the sale of city-owned land at the northwest corner of Ingersoll Avenue, and the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the necessary agreements, and further that the purchase and sale bylaw be referred to the bylaw section of the agenda, and further that the city approves that the proposed purchaser to act as an approved agent on the city's behalf for a zone change application for the subject lands.
That sounds correct to me. Just looking for clerk. All good? Yes. Thank you. Seconder, Counselor Martin. Okay. Discussion? Counselor Martin.
So just for my clarity in my brain, because I'm a visual person and the words are just coming up in front of me, we continue to own the property. The purchaser files the zone change, and they can act as the applicant. That's what we're authorizing, that they act as the applicant, goes all the way through the appeal process, and then the sale becomes final. Assuming all of these, okay. Just wanted to make sure that the closing date wasn't somewhere in there. Closing date would be after a successful zone change.
I'll look for Mr. Hammond. That's the way you understand it as well then from the,
Yeah, that would be my understanding.
Yes.
So, and then just to be clear to council, council's not speaking to the zone change that will come down the road, just simply for the ability for the purchaser to take their chance.
right. Thank you for that clarity. Counselor Martin.
So then another point of clarification, is there a time limit on how long a purchaser can take to submit and proceed with a zone change? Because we don't all proceed at the same pace in life, and sometimes a zone change application can be filed in an afternoon, and sometimes they can take 6 weeks or a year, or is there some sort of a hard stop date on this?
Your worship, through to Councillor Martin, the purchase and sale agreement, which will be drafted by our solicitor, will include the additional verbiage that the purchaser is looking for, that the purchase is conditional on their satisfactory receipt of a zone change app for the subject lands. They'll also include the time dates for due diligence, for satisfying all the conditions. That's standard boilerplate terminology in any purchase and sale agreement. There's the ability for us to extend those mutually if so needed, or not. And everything turns on the waiver of the conditions in the end as to whether or not the property sale closes.
Good question. Nope. All right. Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll call a vote. All those in favor? That is carried. Okay, nothing from clerks, the CAO's office, human resources, nothing from fire services, public works, or IT. We have done 15 special committee and advisory task force reports already. No notice of motions, no new business, so that brings us to the draft bylaws. Counselor Schattenberg.
Moved by myself, Councillor Schattenberg, seconded by Councillor Martin, that the following bylaws be given a first and second reading. There's just one of them actually. 9785-25, a bylaw to provide for the purchase and sale of certain lands owned by the city of Woodstock to the owner of 125 Huron Street.
Thank you. Does that bylaw verbiage have to change that we just discussed? That should be fine, correct? Okay, good, just clarifying. Any questions, concerns on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? That is carried. Counselor Schattenberg?
Yeah, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Leatherborough that the following bylaw be given a third and final reading, 9785-25.
Thank you. Last chance. Any questions or concerns? All those in favor? That is carried. And that brings us to questions and addresses by members of council. And today, let's start with Councillor Leatherborough.
As always, I hope everyone has a great afternoon, and shout out to the Woodstock Fire Department, who had a very spooky haunted house and got me really good. So enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Counselor Martin.
Yeah, I'll also echo that. I hope everyone has a great afternoon and evening. I'm actually supposed to be participating in a virtual conference these 3 days, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So I'm hoping I can get to the tail end of that yet this afternoon to support the work that we do at the Association of Local Public Health Agencies.
Thank you. Counselor Tate.
Couple of things. I want to thank the mayor. I was speaking to David Bloxage yesterday, who's in the audience, and he sits on Operation Sharing, and he told me that the mayor suggested to him that he be a doer in this community and suggested he get on the board of Operation Sharing. So thank you to both of you. And he's been a big supporter of it. And I think that was very impressive. I was impressed when he told me that. And just a funny story. So a friend of mine emailed me and she said, I ran into a retired city staffer who knew my name, but I couldn't catch his name. And I just wondered if you know who it is. He's tall, he's got curly hair, and he's really handsome. And I was like, I have no idea who that it would be.
I don't have curly hair.
No, retired. I was like, I got to think about that one. I said, did he just retire? And so, and the funny thing is, when I'm telling a girlfriend of mine who lives in Toronto, and she guessed, as soon as I said it, she guessed who it was. And so anyways, I sent back, I said, I don't know. And she said, yeah, he was really handsome. His wife was very attractive, both gray hair, but he had like a radio voice. And I was like, Brad Jansen. That's who it was. So I got a real kick. So she thought he was very handsome, but the radio voice I thought was perfect. Anyways, have a good day.
Counselor Schattenberg.
Been a really long meeting, and you know how I know that, Mr. Mayor? We started at 1:30 and the clock above Councilor Leatherborough's head says 4:30. And then I looked at my watch and I go, well, it's actually only 3:30. So it's been a long meeting, but not that long of a meeting. Last night was the Chamber of Commerce Annual Awards. They do about 7 or 8 different categories, and they lead up to the big President's Award at the end of the night. And a friend of the city of Woodstock won the President's Award this year, that being Dr. Leonard Reeves. He was a longtime member of the, what would we call the Committee of Adjustment, a longtime member and even a chair of that committee for a long time. But he's also contributed significantly to the Woodstock District Community Complex, Cowan Sportsplex facility, the Woodstock Art Gallery, and of course the Southgate Center, Sakura House, and the new Woodstock Hospital. And of course, he's the founder of the Dr. Leonard Reeves Foundation, and recently was honored with a King Charles Coronation Medal for a public service. Another significant thing that I thought that was in his resume was he also established a bursary or a scholarship to encourage young women to enter a field of a skilled trade. So that was also very important as well. And so that sort of was the highlighted last night, or at least the last item that was given away. That's always a secret. And myself and of course, Mayor Accioni were at the Beachville Colombo Club last night for the ceremony of the Chamber of Commerce. The decoration exchange this year is November 22nd from 8:30 until 9:30. This usually goes on very quickly at Reeves Community Complex, of course, on Finkel Street. But they're accepting donations on the Thursday night, the 20th, and Friday night, the 21st, from 5 until 7 p.m. So when you're doing your cleaning and preparation for what you are going to use for decorations this year, and you realize you got a bunch of stuff left over, by all means, make sure you participate in that event. And also coming up from the Friends of the Library on Saturday, November the 8th, from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. is the I'm going to say it's biannual because I think they do it twice a year, is the big book sale. But what's surprising about that, they actually sell used small books as well. They're not all big books. And the other thing, it's true, in fact, that there's some fiction books for sale. So that's another bad play on words, right? At the library this Saturday, November the 8th, from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. Bring cash to that event. Thanks a lot.
Twice I felt like I should have gone, but I'm bumped. Counselor Wismer Van Meer.
I'm going to keep this very short for obvious reasons. I just want to remind everyone that the Holiday Smile Cookies kick off November 17th. So the Tim Hortons in Ingersoll, Innerkip, and here in Woodstock, 100% of the proceeds go to youth initiatives. 50% will go to the Tim's camps, and the other 50% is going to Big Brothers Big Sisters of Oxford County. So eat lots of cookies during that week. Leslie, if anybody knows Leslie Farrell, she is one heck of a competitive person. She's already messaged me to tell me how many cookies she's pre-sold. So she's determined to be the top seller every time. So help Leslie out, because if anybody knows Leslie, you know she's one heck of a great person too. So yeah, hopefully you can enjoy some Smile cookies, and I hope that I will be sitting back in my chair in a couple weeks. We'll see you all then.
Well, we certainly hope you're going to feel better, Councillor Wisdom Van Meer. But thanks for being here this afternoon. There's a lot of things going on. I got to say, City of Woodstock and surrounding areas have been really busy last few weeks, been all over the place. A few of the highlights been the Armistice dinner. I want to thank the Legion, of course, for hosting that. Let me speak and give thanks to those that have made not only some ultimate sacrifices, but who have served and still, or who have still serving. Which of course brings to Remembrance Day. Please come to the cenotaph. This is 100 years of the City of Woodstock cenotaph this year that the City of Woodstock is going to be celebrating with those that have served. You should probably be there about 10:15. It usually starts right at 10:30, and of course we'll recognize silence right at 11 o'clock. But please come on out. This being a big year, it's always every year we seem to lose more and more veterans, and let's just show that lest we forget. The lighting of the lights is coming up. Next weekend's going to be busy here as well. Lighting lights on Friday, and of course we have the parade on Saturday. We're hoping to see everybody out. I want to say a quick congratulations to IDCI at today's stair climb. I was unable to attend. I usually do. I don't have a headache today because I didn't attend. It is very loud for those that have not attended. But apparently IDCI actually broke their own records and surpassed over $21,000 raised for United Way. So congratulations to all the students involved. It was already mentioned, the Chamber of Commerce Awards was fantastic last night. Congratulations, Dr. Leonard Reeves. Well-deserved here in our community. Thank you for everything he does. But I think his speech was even more so for those that know Len. Very modest, and just wanted everybody to know, just give what you can. That's the most important thing. In business, we survive together, we work together, and we pay it back to the community, big or small. It's not the dollar amount, it's just whatever you can. So I thought that was really excellent. And again, thank Len for those wise words. Congratulations to all the nominees that night. Not everybody can win, but it was great nonetheless. Saturday is also Heart of Oxford at the Oxford Auditorium, 10 to 7 o'clock. Make sure you swing by. There's something for everybody there. The CPKC holiday train is coming. That is on the 21st. That's Friday, November 21st at 6:40. The holiday train is going to be coming through Woodstock, and look forward to seeing you there. Tonight, I have the Oxford Home Builders Awards. So this will be the first time attending that award ceremony. We work together, and it's really super important. I thank the Oxford Home Builders Association for the invitation to meet with all the home builders and have a great conversation. I'm really looking forward to tonight's event. So thank you to them. And with that, looking for a motion to adjourn. Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Schattenberg. All those in favor? We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Have a fantastic day.